We're joined now by Brian Hayes and Cheryl Pounder. The pressure is on for Game 7, but who's feeling it the most? Hayes, we want you to list it. The top 5 players facing the most pressure in Game 7 between the Leafs and Bruins.
Yeah, I love this, Glenn. It doesn't get any bigger, any better than this. There's a lot of pressure going into Game 7, but I have a 5-pack for you, and I might surprise you at number 5. I am going with Joseph Woll, the starting goalie for the Maple Leafs, at number 5. Now, the reason for that is the nature of the position. He's been unbelievable in Game 5, unbelievable in Game 6. Go ask James Reimer about that in 2013. Freddie Anderson about that in 2018. No one remembers Game 5 and Game 6 if you don't show up in Game 7. If he plays great and they win, he has a chance to really build on a legacy early in his career. Number 4, I have Jeremy Swayman. Very similar to what I just said about Woll. He is the man now. He and Ullmark went back and forth in Boston all year, but he has been anointed the chosen one here. He's played great, but it's irrelevant if he doesn't show up in Game 7. Goaltenders come in at 5 and at 4. At number 3, I have Brad Marchand, the captain of the Boston Bruins. He's the only guy there with that cup ring from 2011, but he's also the one that's supposed to represent the Bergeron era, the Krejci era, the Chara era. He's the face. He's the voice of this team. They blew a 3-1 lead last year. If it happens again this year and it's on his watch, he's going to take a ton of heat. Brad Marchand at 3. I have Mitch Marner at 2. You knew one of the core 4 players were showing up here for the Maple Leafs. It's Mitch Marner. Coming into this series, he had a ton of pressure. He didn't start great. He's been much better lately, but he needs a pop game. He needs a game that stands out as the definitive Mitch Marner game, much like Game 6 was for William Nylander. I have Mitch Marner at 2, and I have David Pastrnak at 1. Highest paid player on the Boston Bruins. He is the man down there. He's capable of scoring 60 goals. He's done it before. He has not done much in this series. They are turning on him in the market, and his own head coach called him out. Jim Montgomery said we need more from Pastrnak. David Pastrnak is number 1 on the pressure list going into Game 7.
Well, Cheryl, what do you think of Brian's list? Is there anyone that you would add to that?
Well, I like the list, Hayes, but I'm also staring directly at the coaches. And you look at Jim Montgomery, he's reflecting back to a year ago when they were 3-1 up against the Florida Panthers in a very similar situation. 5 losses consecutively in series-clinching games. He's got to find a way to get through in this one. And you got to wonder if his job is on the line, much like Sheldon Keefe. Listen, the noise around this team has always been about getting past, not just the first round, the second round, not just meeting expectation, but exceeding it. So this is an absolutely huge one, not just coaching, but being relaxed behind the bench. But I'm also going to throw it out there. We talk so often about the big stars in the game. And for the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think that it's been their secondary, their non-core 4 players that have been pivotal throughout this series in terms of the comeback. You look at someone like Domi or even Bertuzzi, I think they're driving that first line, in particular getting to the paint, making it difficult in front of Swayman, as well as the defenders for the Boston Bruins. You also look at that second line. How about Matthew Nyes on that William Nylander breakaway, shielding the puck along the wall, playing big for a young man, really elevating his game. Jarnkrok, Holmberg taking on Marchand, drawing penalties there. But on the back end, I'm also looking at someone like Benoit. Whoever thought that he would be in a top 4ing role, and he is doing an excellent job. So I'm looking at this collective unit to be able to get it done. Everyone is under pressure.
Yeah, Boston now looking to avoid becoming the first team in NHL, NBA, or MLB history to blow 3-1 series leads in back-to-back years. And as for the Leafs, well, their checkered history, it's well documented. Brian, which team do you think is facing more pressure here Saturday night?
I think they're both facing a ton of pressure, but I would say it's the Bruins because they're on home ice and because of the stat you just referenced, right? The Leafs have lived in this world for quite some time. There's a lot of pressure there, needless to say. Jobs are on the line, like Cheryl just said. Sheldon Keefe, probably Brendan Shanahan, a lot of different people within the organization that understand the Leafs need to pull this off. But they were down 3-1. They've battled back. They have shown a lot of resilience. I think it's the Bruins because of what happened last year. And last year, they had championship expectations. I'm not sure they do this year, but they've always owned the Leafs. They've up 3-1 last year, up 3-1 this year. It's never happened. NHL, MLB, NBA. It's not by a lot. It's like 60-40, 55-45. But I would lean Bruins, just a little bit more pressure on them on home ice than the Maple Leafs.
I 100% agree with you, Hayes. William Nylander said it. We're just playing. We're just playing now. They knew that they had to crawl and claw and fight their way back into this one. And for the Boston Bruins, they are in the exact same situation as last year. And as a former athlete, you know that there's a lot between the ears that's going on right now. I think there's a ton of pressure on their side.
Well, as for what FanDuel thinks, the Bruins are favorites to win and advance. They're listed at -142.